Let's talk about some gay shit. I feel like talking about some gay shit today. Just woke up this morning and was feeling, real gay. Allow me to rephrase that. I would like, if I may, to take about 15 minutes of your time to discuss LGBT+ representation in anime, as well as censorship in specifically magical girl anime. Maybe that's a little too formal. Let's see, how should I put this? Oh, whatever, let's talk about gay shit in anime.
Hey, what are you wearing? What the hell?
Sorry. I don't want to dive too deep into my own experiences because this video isn't about me, but one of the first anime that resonated with me while exploring my, identity as a teen was Playimagine Madoka Magica. Identity, I need to be stopped. Although it's never explicitly stated, there are so many underlying subtextual themes of budding sexuality and self-discovery, particularly in the character Homura. It really feels undeniable that Homura has this deep romantic love for Madoka, but it comes with all of these frustrations and betrayals that literally set her back and prevent her from her happy ending. It ends up making her story a tragic one, which unfortunately is all too familiar with so many LGBT+ youth. Combine that with some hyper-feminine outfits and endless official art of the girls holding hands, and you've got a gay old time, baby. I'm gonna set her down, because she's my daughter and she's very precious to me. Let's talk about queer representation in anime. So, queer culture is something that has indeed always existed and is recognized in Japan. However, it is also more often than not kept under wraps. Whereas Western arguments against same-sex relationships and gender identity are mainly due to certain spiritual ideology, in Japan it's more about the socially conservative culture. Japanese school systems and work environments put a heavy emphasis on conformity, so LGBT+ identities aren't really embraced in the classroom or workplace. An article in Dazed magazine says that many LGBT+ youth in Japan actually discover queer identities through manga and anime. The characters, not just in yaoi and yuri, but also in fantasy shoujo and superhero manga, are flamboyant and express themselves in a more androgynous or sexually fluid manner. Look at shoujo anime like revolutionary Girl Utena, for example, where there's not only subtextual themes of lady love, but a titular character that wears a male school uniform and refers to herself as a prince. Plus, let's not forget about that gaggle of girls that swoon over Utena anytime she walks by, all high and mighty. Big mood. I think the same thing about discovering different identities through anime and manga can be said for kids here in the West as well. Even if I may have not realized it as a child, so many of the characters that I watched in anime growing up could definitely be argued as not straight. One franchise that actually has a huge LGBT+ fan base is Pokemon. I think the main reason is because Pokemon puts a heavy emphasis on community, as the games encourage playing with friends and sharing memories. Lots of weird little kids like me who felt like outcasts were able to find each other and bond through Pokemon. And among those outcasts were a generation of queer youth. There's also the fact that several Pokemon, including legendary Pokemon, are genderless, becoming important symbols for trans and non-binary folks. Even the story isn't affected by what gender you choose for the player character. You're a big old nuisance to local terrorist organizations no matter how you choose to identify. Good on you, Pokemon. I think one of the biggest examples from the Pokemon anime that resonate with LGBT+ people are Jessie and James. Sure, they're the main villains of the anime, and really incompetent ones at that, but they breathe so much life into the repetitive Pokemon formula with their extravagant personalities and love for the dramatics. Think of all the disguises these two put on and how many of them involve drag. Anytime I saw Jessie in a suit and James in a poofy dress, I never thought of that as something that didn't make sense. I just accepted that was who they were. And I thought they looked fabulous. One of the most infamous examples was in an episode that was actually banned in several countries. I'm sure all the Pokemon fans know the story at this point, but there's this episode called Beauty and the Beach where Ash and Co go to this vacation resort. All sorts of shenanigans ensue, and it culminates in a beauty competition where, yes, James wears that tiny swimsuit and big old inflatable boobs. Okay, so maybe it wasn't such a bad thing that this episode was banned, especially since Misty, who's like 12, enters the competition too, and laments that her chest is smaller than James's. It's a balancing act.
Anime, am I right?
But this story brings me to the real meat of this video: queer censorship in anime. Specifically, how queer characters have been changed or censored when brought here to the West. I think we can all have a good laugh at certain questionable changes English dubs have made to censor our favorite anime. Let's see, rice balls somehow becoming jelly donuts, glasses of wine transmuting into fancy grape juice, cigarettes becoming lollipops, the literal concept of death becoming the shadow realm. All right, 4Kids, whatever helps you sleep at night. Some of these changes, though, aren't so laughable. Well, they kind of are, but not really for the right reasons. If you watched popular magical girl series like Sailor Moon or Cardcaptor Sakura, then you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, allow me to be your guide, the guardian of gay. Surprisingly, I didn't watch Sailor Moon when I was a kid, so learning about all these changes really opened my eyes, and made me kind of regret that I didn't grow up watching this show or Cardcaptors because, I mean, I absolutely love Cardcaptor Sakura now. I mean, look at me, look at me, look at me, Adrian. Whoops. That's what happens when you get too confident. I want to give credit here to a close friend of GetintheRobot, Joan Farnessa, for providing a ton of research about everything that was censored in the English dub of Sailor Moon. So, for all of you that did watch the DEEK-localized version of Sailor Moon, you may be familiar with the characters introduced in Season 3, Michiru and Haruka, or Michelle and Amara in English, aka Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus. If you found it at all strange that these two characters, who were portrayed as cousins in the show, acted like they were maybe a little too close for that kind of relationship, you wouldn't be wrong for feeling that way. In the original Japanese version, Michiru and Haruka are actually a couple. And they're a very loving couple too, often exchanging words of affection even in front of the other Sailor Scouts. I personally find it a little strange that showing a healthy, non-over-sexualized lesbian relationship to children is somehow more controversial than cousins who still kinda hardcore flirt with one another. Wow, don't we all just love the 90s? The changes don't end there, though. Yet another same-sex couple falls victim to censorship in the form of the villainous duo Zoisite and Kunzite. Zoisite is actually a man in the Japanese Sailor Moon, a beautiful Dorito-faced Bishonen, if you will. However, the English dub decided to make this character a woman, since he's the more effeminate and demure of the two. This unfortunately conceals their gay relationship. But hey, at least they don't make these two related! Woo! Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh, but I'm not done with Sailor Moon just yet. No, no, no. Let's talk about Fisheye, who is another character to be regendered when localized. This one is a bit more ambiguous because the Dead Moon Circus villain is a character who was originally a fish, but was then turned into a human? Man, I missed out on a lot by not watching this show. Nevertheless, the Japanese version portrays this character as a male interested in other men, and who disguises himself as a woman in order to supplement his power. He even crushes on Tuxedo Mask at one point. Can you blame him? Because let's be honest, we all crushed on Tuxedo Mask at one point. Even Adrian.
Can confirm, did crush on Tuxedo Mask.
In the English dub, Fisheye is changed to being a woman altogether. While the gender fluidity of the original Fisheye sounds a little, sus, considering it was used for predatory purposes, it's still a bit unfair that it was just straight up changed. We can also talk about the gender-fluid Sailor Starlights that were introduced in the final season of Sailor Moon, but this season was never even aired in North America due to Toei losing the rights over the show because of creative differences with Naoko Takeuchi. I would be very interested to see how DEEK would have handled these characters because, there really isn't any way of censoring these gender-bending heartthrobs. Now, I want to switch gears to another magical girl series that was actually also pretty gay. Not that you would have known if you watched the American release of,
Cardcaptors, a mystic adventure. Cardcaptors, a quest for all time.
Cardcaptors? Yeah, I'm talking Cardcaptor Sakura. That is why I am dressed like this today. Cardcaptor Sakura went through a number of changes when being dubbed in English, so much so that the show almost feels unrecognizable. Characters' names were changed, music was changed, the shoujo convention suddenly became more shonen, and yes, relationships between characters became a lot more censored. Did you know that Tomoyo, or Madison I guess, actually has a massive crush on her best friend Sakura? She insists on Sakura wearing the specially tailored outfit she makes for her, she films her when she's on missions, and she has lots of dreams about her. In the manga, she even tries to confess her love to Sakura a few times. These moments are complete with the use of flowers in the background that are typically used in more romantic scenes of shoujo manga. In the English release, any dialogue or indication of Tomoyo's romantic sentiments are removed, and her feelings become completely platonic ones, seeing Sakura as more of a muse for her homemade films. Yeah, because it's totally platonic to film lots of videos of your friend kicking ass in the hundreds of outfits you made specifically for her. Although Tomoyo can come off as a bit obsessive at times, her love for Sakura is actually incredibly pure, as she values her best friend's happiness above all else, even her own feelings. She never even displays signs of jealousy or bitterness towards Sakura's other love interests. Now that's what I call love. Although apparently they're cousins. This show is very strange. I love it, but it's strange. I'm sensing a cousin theme here. Did you also know that Sakura's older brother Toya, or Tori, and his friend Yukito, or Julian, have a romantic subplot in the Japanese version? It's true. Why do you think he turns down all of those love confessions from the girls at his school? It's obvious that there's some pretty clear romantic tension between these two boys, and even Sakura, who crushes hardcore on Yukito early on, realizes eventually that he fancies her big bro. Everybody kind of crushed on Yukito now that I think about it, including Sakura's later love interest, Sharon Lee, which was also removed from the English dub, by the way.
Also, can confirm, did crush on Yukito.
We all did. I love silver hair. Adrian and I have the crushes on the same guys. Pass it on. Although Toya and Yukito are never said to be in any sort of explicit relationship in the anime, there still are several moments that suggest a deep love between them. Anyone else cry a bit when they think of Toya telling Yukito that he doesn't want him to disappear? Oh. Toya even sacrifices his powers in order to save Yukito's life. How much more romantic can you get than that? Of course, in the dub, any suggestion of this is erased, including all dialogue or tender moments between the two boys. Instead, they're just close friends. You know, a couple of bros. Just guys being dudes. Two guys in the hot tub 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
Love the reference.
I suppose it's also important to mention that the manga author team responsible for Cardcaptor Sakura, Clamp, started off creating yaoi doujinshis, sexy fan-made zines. Puts a lot in perspective, huh? In most Clamp universes, or if you're like me, believe in the Clamp multiverse, it's pretty much accepted that anyone and everyone is bi, and the concept of homophobia is something that doesn't even really exist. Anyone can love whoever they want to love, and in the case of Cardcaptor Sakura, all love is seen as pure and more about adoration than physical or sexual attraction. So, where are we today? You may be thinking, Dorrie, why does all this matter? It happened so many years ago. Things are different now. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Here's the thing though. Magical girl manga and anime, in my opinion, is something that holds really important meaning to LGBT+ people. Not only because there are canonically gay relationships and gender-ambiguous characters, but also because of the messages and symbolism conveyed through these hyper-feminine universes. The entire concept of transformation can be comforting to the queer identity. The idea that these characters could live these entirely separate lives where they feel empowered rather than ashamed or seen as a joke. It's something that we just never got to see in most Western media growing up. Thankfully, the idea seems to be changing with shows like Steven Universe, but then again, Steven Universe is heavily inspired by shoujo and magical girl anime, like Revolutionary Girl Utena. Luckily, Viz Media has acknowledged some of these forms of censorship, and the redub of Sailor Moon doesn't cover up Michiru and Haruka's relationship. They even corrected a translation error when it was brought to their attention. Man, it's a good thing that things have changed in the West over the years and we don't have to worry about our favorite LGBT+ characters getting censored anymore.
You're worthy of my grace.
Your grace?
I'm saying I like you.
I'm dying inside. Alright, so I don't want to end this video on a sad note because, let's be honest, there's enough LGBT plus content out there that ends in tragedy. Instead, I'm going to talk about a few anime that have wonderful, positive LGBT plus representation. Here is Dorie's watch list.
Dun-dun-dun.
Bloom Into You was one that I watched this past winter and absolutely adored. Sometimes I have trouble with Yuri because while I can enjoy it, I feel like a lot of it is pretty hypersexualized. And also meant more for straight people. I didn't say that. Bloom Into You, on the other hand, is done a lot more soft. It's a show that focuses on exploring budding sexuality, and it's handled in a way that feels more realistic to the experience of coming to terms with your own sexuality. I even consider the main character Yu to be asexual, which is something that you rarely see in any type of media. Wandering Sun is a visually beautiful coming-of-age story about a young transgender girl named Shuichi Nitori. The anime focuses on her journey of self-discovery as she comes to terms with her gender identity, self-presentation, and the reactions of those around her. The manga dives even deeper into Nitori's story as she grows older, including her feelings towards fully transitioning once she's old enough. Equip yourself with tissues for this one. Christelle, I know you're watching, so this one's for you, babe. Youre Young Ice is that breath of fresh air in a sea of ambiguously gay sports anime. This show has been highly praised for its depiction of same-sex relationships, even feeling more real to queer people than most yaoi and yuri out there. It's perfect for those who want to explore LGBT plus content in anime, but without all of the sexual and non-consensual stuff that you would find in a lot of BL. Also, the figure skating scenes are so beautiful to watch. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Oh, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I just love me some wholesome lesbian dragon goodness. Toru certainly isn't shy about her feelings towards Kobayashi in the anime, but I just wish that Kobayashi would reciprocate those feelings already. How could you not fall in love with an insanely hot dragon lady that cooks, cleans, and humiliates your asshole of a boss in front of his employees for you? Yeah, maybe it's a little weird that she wants Kobayashi to eat her tail, but anything can be tasty if you add enough spice and soy sauce to it. If you won't date Toru Kobayashi, then god damn it, I will. Finally, Carole Tuesday! I know that I've already said aplenty about this show, but to add on to all of the other things I love about it, there is so much wholesome gay stuff in here. Episode 4 features a full girl-on-girl kiss, which completely took Carole Tuesday and me by surprise. Later on in that same episode, one of the ladies, Mari, tells her ex-husband Gus that she's getting remarried to that woman, which he takes surprisingly well, offering her words of encouragement as they part rather than confusion and jealousy. Thank you, Shinichiro Watanabe. I knew I admired you for a reason or 10. So if I didn't mention your favorite, please let me know what it is in the comments below. To all of the LGBT plus viewers watching this, know that you are seen, heard, and so very loved. I love all of you. I am the one and only lovely Dorrie, and thank you so much for watching GetintheRobot, your anime explainer.
People in the comments are gonna be like, how could you forget Given?
I know, I'm gonna get so many people going like, you didn't mention Oran High School Host Club!
It's airing this season!
Sorry!
Editor, end it on that note.